Hey, I'm Sarah, and this is the Goddess in Training podcast. This isn't about being perfect or polished or having it all figured out. This is about what happens when you actually start listening to your body, your intuition, your patterns, your truth. I'm asking big questions and having real conversations, sometimes messy and sometimes magical, with people who've lived through it, grown through it, and still don't have all the answers. If you've ever doubted yourself, betrayed your gut, or wondered if you're the only one, you're not. Let's talk about it. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Goddess in Training. I'm Sarah, and you may have noticed I'm doing something a little different today. It's just me. No guest, no interview, just a moment to pause together and name where I've been and where I'm going with this podcast. I want to begin by naming something that feels both simple and profound. I've published episodes for 36 weeks in a row. And when I say that, I don't mean 36 easy weeks. I mean 36 weeks that included joy and momentum, but also fear, grief, recovery, and surrender. Weeks where my life was changing faster than I could narrate it. There were moments during this run where publishing felt like an offering, and moments where it felt like devotion. There's a difference between consistency as productivity and consistency as devotion. Productivity asks, can you keep going? Devotion asks, can you stay present to what's actually happening while you do? This podcast has lived much closer to devotion for me. One of the moments that made that clearest was when I released episodes while I was hospitalized in Costa Rica for 2 weeks with necrotizing fasciitis. Saying that out loud today still feels surreal. My body was fighting for its life. I was in pain. I didn't know how long healing would take or what my capacity would look like on the other side. And yet somehow, this work kept moving. Not because I forced it, but because it mattered. Because it was tethered to something larger than productivity or performance. When your body is that vulnerable, your priorities rearrange themselves without negotiation. This podcast survived that moment not because it was content, but because it was connection. It helped me stay oriented to meaning while so much else fell away. The long physical healing journey that followed and is still going changed me. It slowed me down, it stripped away illusion and clarified what actually mattered. And in many ways, this podcast became a companion during that time, not something I did, but something I stayed in relationship with. As I look back now, I can see that so many of the conversations I hosted were actually preparing me for the life I was stepping into. We talked about intuition and purpose in work through conversations with people who've walked beside me in very real ways. Conversations with my former boss and longtime ally, Barry Lynn, about meaning and leadership. With a recruiter and dear friend, Deborah Collins, about trusting intuition when the path isn't linear. With women like Tina Krall and Beth Solomon, who named burnout honestly, especially in mission-driven work, and asked what it means to stay human inside systems that extract. Those conversations weren't theoretical for me. They were mirrors. So many of us are taught to override intuition in the name of responsibility. These conversations reminded me that intuition isn't anti-work, it's anti-self-abandonment. At the same time, there were episodes that spoke to the many ways women remember themselves. Women reclaiming what it means to be untamed like Amy. Women naming wildness not as chaos, but as truth like Agni. Women choosing unconventional lives, living in the jungle, listening to land, allowing place to shape identity like Kathy. Women like Claire returning to womb wisdom, to cycles, to the intelligence of the body so many of us were taught to override. And then there were the healers. So many healers, too many to name honestly, but each one reminding me that healing isn't a destination, it is a relationship. One that requires humility, listening, and trust in timing. When I say goddess in training, I don't mean someone striving toward perfection. I mean someone willing to listen. Someone in relationship with becoming. Every guest on this podcast is either a goddess in training or a full-fledged goddess who remembers what it took to get there. And if you're listening, so are you. As all of this was unfolding publicly through conversations, essays, recordings, something else was happening quietly in my own life. For a long time, I spoke about divine partnership as a process, not a prize, and something you don't chase but become available for. I talked about safety, about resonance, about learning to stay with yourself instead of performing readiness. What I didn't fully realize was that I was practicing this in real time. After my divorce, I went through a phase where I talked about it constantly, on dates, in conversations, even casually. I was processing out loud, telling the story again and again to anyone who would listen. At the time, I thought I was healing, and part of it was. But eventually, I understood something important. I wasn't actually available yet, not fully to another person, and not fully to myself. Availability isn't about wanting partnership. It's about being present in your own life without narrating it. It's about inhabiting your body instead of auditioning your story. For me, that shift came through daily meditation. That's not everyone's path, but it was mine. Sitting with myself long enough that I could feel what safety actually felt like rather than theorizing about it. Long enough that I could listen without needing immediate translation. And when that happened, things changed. I didn't manifest a divine counterpart through effort or strategy. I manifested by becoming unavailable to dynamics that required me to abandon myself. I stopped entertaining connections that felt confusing, effortful, or misaligned. I trusted the quiet no's as much as the exciting yeses. And then, without drama, without fireworks, this partnership arrived. Not as a disruption to my life, but as a deepening of it. What has surprised me most isn't the romance, it's the simplicity. The way nothing in me has to brace. The way I don't need to explain or manage or stay alert. The way being together actually creates more space, not less. Healthy love doesn't feel like intensity, it feels like relief. It feels like your nervous system finally getting to exhale. And this is where my work as a transition doula comes in, because this moment isn't just personal, it's deeply professional. In doula work, we don't rush thresholds. We don't demand articulation before integration. We prioritize nervous system safety. We ask, what does this moment need in order to land in the body? Right now, I'm serving as my own doula. If I were working with someone in this moment, I'd tell them, don't rush to explain. Don't extract meaning too quickly. Let the body catch up to change. Protect the tenderness, honor the pause. So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking a short break, 2, maybe 3 weeks, not because the work is finished, but because something has arrived and I want to let it settle into my nervous system. I want to marinate in this partnership without immediately translating it into language or teaching or content. This pause isn't a disappearance, it's a holding. While I'm away, I'll be sharing a couple of reflections on Substack, curating and weaving together past conversations around shared themes, episodes that speak to one another when placed side by side, threads that were always there, waiting to be seen. And then I'll return, not refreshed in the productivity sense, but rooted, more embodied, more inside my life. If you've been listening from the beginning, thank you, thank you, thank you for walking with me through illness, healing, becoming, and arrival. And if you're newer here, know this. The work continues, even when the mic is quiet for a moment. Sometimes the most powerful practice is staying with what has arrived without rushing to explain it. I'll see you on the other side of the pause. Thank you for tuning in to Goddess in Training. I hope something in this episode stirred your knowing or softened your heart. If it spoke to you, share it with someone who needs it, or leave a review or comment to help others find us. If you're watching on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to hear more conversations like this, please consider supporting Goddess in Training on Patreon. For more tools and offerings to deepen your intuition practice, visit goddessintraining.online. You can also join the Scroll of Seshat on Substack for twice-weekly stories of how I followed my intuition. The music for Goddess in Training is Madre Ayahuasca by Arkawa, and you can find more of his music in the link to his website in the show notes. Remember, your intuition is not a mystery, it's a memory. Keep listening. Resplandor de fuego, estrellita, tabaco santo, fuerza de Rafael, soplo de luz, soplo encantado, viajecito, bendición del cielo.